Hello and welcome to weather. Well, right now the Hazardous Seas Alert has been discontinued, and the Meteorological Service is still advising those of you who are heading out to still pay attention as always. As we know, the green level alert basically means that those are low risk near shore posed by those northerly swells. So as we've been looking over the next few days, definitely looking at those sea heights right now, looking at 1.5 to 2 meters just east of Trinidad and Tobago. You will notice that there's a very low impact expected on those north and northeastern shores as we go through the next few days. And along the Gulf of Paria, now waves are around 1 meter, so too along the south coast of Trinidad. So the waters are continuing to improve, and you will notice this all the way through this evening, overnight into Friday. Now, the swells, they have been coming in from the north. Those have been the impactful swells that have been seeing across Trinidad and Tobago as well as the Eastern Caribbean. Those swells are now arriving around every 11 seconds. So there's now a very low impact along those northern and the northeastern exposed coastal areas of Trinidad. Unfortunately, yet another Atlantic swell, you can see it in green colors here, that is expected to pass well east of the island chain. So that should not impact us over the next few days. Now, today's satellite imagery still shows the fair and hazy conditions, mainly over the southern Windward Islands, especially towards Bridgetown, maybe a few showers for Grenada. Meanwhile, we have a stationary front with showers, and this stretches from eastern Cuba all the way across to Belize. Meanwhile, we do have high pressure over in the western Atlantic, but there's that low pressure in South America near to Colombia. And the combination of that is basically causing a tightening of the pressure gradient across the Caribbean basin. So this will support fresh to strong winds, particularly over northern Venezuela out towards Colombia, and accompanying that will also be some rough seas. But for us here in Trinidad and Tobago, we will be seeing those moderate winds, at least at the mid-levels. They could come down to the surface at times, so you may see some breezy or gusty conditions from time to time. Now, the satellite imagery across Trinidad and Tobago shows less haze. We're still seeing some passing clouds, however, patches of cloudiness across Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed the rest of the Lesser Antilles. But we do still have some Saharan dust suspended in the atmosphere, and this has lowered visibility. At 2 o'clock, it was at 5 kilometers at Piarco. It's now recovered to 16, and at Crown Point, it was hovering at 12 kilometers this afternoon. That's also now recovered to 16 kilometers. But the Environmental Management Authority has noted that there's a moderate health concern for unusually sensitive persons nationwide, measuring those across in Port of Spain, San Fernando, Arima, Miaro, and Point Lisas today. But we have been seeing the Saharan air layer thinning out a bit. It's now at mild concentrations, and that this should remain over the next few days. Now, the dry Saharan air means that there are low moisture levels. So despite the relatively wet days, maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday next week, low rainfall totals are expected from this weekend all the way through till next week. Now, checking today's maximum temperatures, we saw 32.4 degrees Celsius at Piarco, and currently it's now 28 degrees Celsius. Out at Scarborough, the high was at 32.1, and right now it's 29 degrees Celsius there. Now, there will be little change expected tonight, mostly fair and hazy, a warm night with a minimum 26 degrees Celsius at Crown Point. And for Trinidad as well, looking at a low of 25 degrees Celsius, maybe dipping a touch lower in some of those valleys. Now, through Friday, it's generally sunny and hazy. This will be the trend for both Tobago as well as Trinidad. Temperature-wise, we're expecting about 32 degrees Celsius, but that will likely feel more like 38 once you're factoring that humidity. Now, into the weekend, there's very little change expected into Saturday or Sunday. Mostly fair, becoming partly cloudy and breezy, maybe accompanied by that odd shower. So there's very little action as well as we head towards the seas. Fisherfolk and sea bathers, moderate seas with waves heights of about 1.5 meters, maybe stretching to 2 meters further out into the Lesser Antilles. And if you are heading out to the beaches, we've got your high tide at 9 a.m., next one at 10:08 p.m., and low tides as well at 2:36 a.m. and 3:47 p.m. And at Scarborough, 8:35 is your high tide there alongside 10:12, and low tides is at 2:21 and at 3:36. So if you are heading to the beaches, still take care, even though we've discontinued that Hazardous Seas Alert. And in terms of the dust, we're seeing less dust around, but still take precautions if you're heading out. So that's your weather, and that's it from me.